Today, I want to talk about the biggest mistakes you're making when trying to get bigger and stronger. A very common misconception is that we should only train a muscle group once a week, and training it more than that is going to cause us to overtrain and see no results. When in actual fact, you want to be training a muscle group 2, 3, even up to 4 times a week to see the most optimal growth out of it. Remember, that's because building muscle at its core is about getting stronger. Getting stronger has 2 components: building muscle and getting better at a movement. The more you do something, the better and more efficient you're going to become at doing that movement, which means you're going to be able to move more weight, which means getting bigger muscles. You want to start off with 2 to 3 times a week and work your way up to 4 times a week. The reason for this is muscle protein synthesis, which is the hormone response from working out and training with weights that makes your muscles want to grow. It stimulates for the proteins to go to those damaged muscle tissues and to build more muscle tissue to come back stronger than before. Remember, essentially, weight training is just breaking down muscle tissue. What you've got to do is stimulate enough damage so that your body wants to come back stronger the next time to lift more. The problem with doing lots of isolation exercises is they only target one muscle. By doing compound movements, which is simply exercises that target more than one muscle in each exercise. So an example of an isolation movement is a bicep curl or a tricep extension, in which you're only going to work the bicep and the tricep in that single movement. A compound movement is going to be a bench press or a pull-up, because obviously in bench press you're going to be working your chest, your anterior deltoids, your triceps in the one movement, and on a pull-up you're going to be working your lats, your rhomboids, your biceps, your forearms, all in the one movement. So as you can see, by doing one exercise you can target 4 or 5 muscle groups instead of just one with isolation exercises. Yes, you should be tracking your workouts in some way, shape or form if you're looking to make progress. That's because, remember, your goal to getting bigger is about getting stronger. So if you're just going in and doing whatever exercises and not tracking them, how do you know you're actually making improvements each week? The whole point to having a periodized program is to make sure that you're lifting heavier every single time you come into the gym. Of course, you're not just going to be able to progress by lifting heavier and heavier and heavier every single time you come into the gym. But that doesn't mean you can't stimulate your muscles by doing more than the session before. There's quite a few ways you can up your intensity or volume within your session, because the way that muscles are going to respond to growth is total volume, which is your sets, reps, and weight used. So you can look at manipulating any one of these variables to increase your volume. You can look at doing more reps with the same weight. You could look at doing an extra set with the same weight, or you could look at using a heavier weight. All 3 of these is going to make the total volume you do in that session more than before. You could also optimally vary all 3 of these. Everybody thinks you've got to train to absolute failure and that you should walk out of the gym feeling like you absolutely destroyed that muscle group. That's not true. Think about what you're doing. You're just pounding a muscle over and over and over again, let's say with 20 sets on your chest on one single day. Then you're going to do nothing for the next 6 days, and when you come back, hopefully just pound it to death a little bit more. It causes tons of soreness and you don't really do much in between. Now think of what you're asking of your body. It's about asking it to go perform one big session on one day, and then that muscle doesn't really have to do anything for 6 days after. It doesn't really make the body think, oh, this muscle's got to get bigger and stronger. Now let's compare that to, say, you do 20 sets still in the course of a week, but you split that up over, say, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and do 6 or 7 sets on each of those days. Now your chest has to work really hard and intensely on 3 different days of the week moving a heavy weight. I don't know about you, but that sounds more likely that my body's going to want to try and put some more muscle on my chest to deal with the amount of stress that it's having working 2 to 3 times a week, maybe even up to 4 if you're more advanced. Sounds a lot more logical that way to be doing that. That's why your split should be much more focused on upper, lower, or full body, especially when as a beginner. The other way you can think of it is, if I ask you to start learning another language right now, are you going to just spend one whole day absolutely destroying 8 to 10 hours trying to learn that language? Or do you think you're going to be more likely to get better results spreading that out over the course of the week? It's the same as training. Why just split up and say hit, shoulders once a week, when you could hit push, chest, shoulders, and tricep 3 times a week and get far better results? It is actually that simple. Progressive overload. It's about lifting more every single session, increasing the volume every single session. Like I explained earlier, you can do this by changing your sets, reps, or the amount of weight you use. But that is the key that's going to get you results when looking to build muscle. No, getting a pump does not mean that muscle's going to grow. All what that means is you're making that muscle swell with blood and waste products such as lactic acid. That's why it burns, it's why your muscle feels bigger. That's not going to be a good signal of if that muscle's going to grow or not. No, you shouldn't be crawling out of the gym after leg day. You should be squatting, 2 to 3 times a week. Personally, I squat or deadlift 3 to 4 times a week. I didn't just jump straight to that, but you work your way up to it. I've seen my best gains from doing this because my body is now adapted that it has to be ready to go 3 or 4 times every week instead of just going, once a week I kill my legs, wait 6 days, barely walk during those days and come back into it. It doesn't really make your body want to grow. You're too busy trying to recover from one slaughtering session, but it's only one day. Your body doesn't really want to put on muscle tissue. You've got to remember that putting on muscle tissue is a hard process for the body because that tissue is now active. So which means it requires more calories every single day of your life. So putting on that muscle tissue requires a great deal of energy and effort on your body. So that's why if you're not eating enough, you're just not going to grow. People undervalue the importance of ensuring that you're constantly getting excess calories and excess protein. Building muscle takes energy. It takes building blocks, in this case, protein intake. So if you're not getting adequate protein intake every single day and an excess of calories over what you need to maintain weight every day, your body is not going to want to put on any muscle because it's then going to cost even more energy every single day of your life. It's why adding more muscle makes losing weight easier because you just burn more calories while sitting down. Now, if you're asking your body to put more muscle on you, but you're not giving it enough calories right now, it's not going to put on more tissue that requires even more energy. That's why the goal of building muscle and losing fat at the same time doesn't work. You've got to give your body the right stimulus, which means making sure you're having enough calories to be building muscle, but not too much to be building fat at the same time. That's why tracking your calories and macros is the best way if you want to get lean muscle growth without getting too fat. You can ensure you're getting enough calories and protein without overeating too much and getting just fat from it. The biggest thing you should be focusing on is getting stronger. To get stronger, you've got to get bigger. And by tracking weights, you give yourself something reassuring every single week. Building muscle takes time. If you're just looking at the scale and in the mirror, you're not going to be too reassured every single day when you wake up and you try and check yourself out. Have you grown much? It's a pretty slow process. I know you've been there before. But if you're tracking your weights in the gym and you know that your squat, your bench press, your pull-ups are all moving up, that means you're getting stronger and you're building muscle because that's the only way you're able to progress. So turn your focus into something that you can give yourself positive reinforcement every single day. Again, why I suggest tracking your macros. If you're ensuring you're hitting your macros perfectly and your weight's going up in the gym, if you're gaining weight, you can ensure that's going to be mainly muscle tissue and you're not getting fat. It's the key to getting lean and getting big. Don't worry, I was just like you guys. I used to read all the magazines, Men's Fitness, Men's Health. I used to follow those ones when they tell you how they became a superhero. I remember waking up at 4 a.m. and having toast with Vegemite and a protein shake because they said that's what Hugh Jackman did to get jacked in Wolverine. Now, unfortunately, that's just some fancy marketing because they have to sell you that magazine every single month. So it's all just marketing hype. It's not the actual way that you're going to get bigger. And most of the guys on the cover of fitness magazines are usually on substances which you're probably not on, so you need to train a lot smarter than they are. Hitting a muscle group once a week is fine if you're using performance enhancing drugs, but if you're a natural, you should be training 2 to 3 times and you must ensure that you're focusing on getting stronger, tracking your macros so you can ensure that you're getting enough protein. It's much harder to grow as a natural and you're always going to hit that sticking point. I'm sure you're struggling now that when you first started, you gained a little bit of muscle, but now you've kind of hit a wall once those newbie gains have run out. Now you've got to start training smarter. You're right, I don't expect you to just go into the gym and lift heavy 2 to 3 times a week. I want to give you a little bit more guidance than that. So the most optimal gains I've ever made is using what's called DUP, or Daily Undulated Periodization. And let's keep it simple. Let's just say you're going to squat Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You're not just going to go in and try and lift as heavy as you can on all those days. What you want to do is undulate your rep schemes, the amount of weight you lift, and the amount of sets you do. So to keep it nice and simple, let's just say that Monday becomes your strength day. So you're going to do 5 sets of 3 with a really heavy weight. That's going to be your strength day, really focusing on getting as much weight on the bar with good form as you can. Then we're going to go to Wednesday and we're going to have a more hypertrophy focused day. And we'll do your more typical, let's say 3 sets of 10, focusing on using a moderate weight with good reps and really focusing on having good form and getting through the movement. Then Friday, we're going to have a mix of the 2 sessions. We're going to have a strength / hypertrophy day. We'll do a 5x5. This time, you're going to use a weight in between the 2. Wednesday's a bit more of a lighter day. Monday's super heavy. Today's moderate. And you're going to go for a 5x5. So now you've worked out 3 times in the 1 week. And what you've done is you've squatted 3 separate occasions, but using different weights, different rep schemes. So you're targeting slightly different muscle groups. You've probably heard it all before that there's type 1 and type 2 muscle twitch fibers. So what we're doing is hitting them in a different way. Monday's very CNS intensive, which means your central nervous system is going to take a lot of the brunt from heavy lifting. Then on Wednesday, it's much more of a muscular session because you're working with higher reps, and Friday's a bit of a mix. Now, you can squat on all 3 of those days, and then you can switch up your accessory work. Maybe Monday you focus a little bit more on your hamstrings and your calves after. Then on Wednesday you could focus a little bit more quads. You don't have to do all leg exercises every single session. But remember, if you're coming from training once a week, all what you've got to do is spread everything you're doing in that one day out over 3 days to begin with. You're going to take your volume from one day and put it over 3 days in daily undulated periodization. Now, I don't know about you, but it makes a lot more sense if I'm trying to get good at something, if I'm trying to get stronger at something, doing it more times in 1 week. Now, yes, the first time you change from once a week to 3 times a week, your legs are going to have to adjust and it's going to be sore. Your whole body will when you start doing push-pull legs or something like that. But the thing is, you're going to see much better gains if you push through. You're actually going to be less sore all the time because your body gets more used to the movement. Not exactly. Being sore does not mean a good indicator of making your muscles grow or a good workout. It simply means you have done a large amount of damage, usually from doing a different exercise to what you're used to. We all know the first time you go into the gym and you do your first leg session back and you squat or lunge, the next day it feels like somebody's taken a razor blade to your legs. Getting up off the couch or the toilet, we've all seen the memes, is really painful. That's not an awesome indicator you're growing muscles. That doesn't mean you have to feel like that after every single session. A way to know you've done a good session is you lifted heavier or more reps or did more volume than you've ever done before. You don't have to feel sore and brutalized every time you walk out of the gym after leg day. In fact, you shouldn't. If you've been training for a long time or you speak to someone who's much more advanced, you'll know, sure, they feel tired, the session itself was hard, but they don't have much soreness the following days. Delayed onset muscle soreness, which, as you know, the first day and the second day, specifically after doing a new exercise, that muscle group's probably really sore. The more you do that, the more you get used to it, and that means you're not going to be as sore when coming to it the next time. Think of it like if you've ever gone out and you've done hard manual labor for a day, you were so sore the next day you don't know how you could barely move if you had to dig a hole or do some gardening and you don't move around much. Now think of laborers and tradies. Guarantee you the first day on the job, like I was when I did laboring as my first job, I hurt like hell. I felt like I couldn't move the next day. After a week or two, nothing hurts anymore. It's just normal. That's your job. Your body's got used to it and it's adapted to it. If you do training often enough, your body will adapt and that's how you're going to get better at it. You're not going to be sore from it anymore. You're going to be able to take the training on much easier and progress much faster. So that's it, guys. I really hope this information has been helpful to you. Hope you learned a few things about muscle growth, muscle building, and how you should be training to get more optimal results. If it was, please like it, share it around, or tag one of your mates if you think it's going to be helpful. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, obviously, because there's going to be a lot more good footage coming out. And I'll catch you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.